Undertale is overhyped. Man, what a great way to make a first impression, huh? Okay, it isn't actually as bad as you're gonna think, and as this review will go on, I hope I can explain to you my feelings on Undertale. So, hello, to introduce myself, my name is Jared, your honorary Asian, and here's my review of Undertale. But before I get started, let me share some background pertaining to why I decided to play Undertale so late in the game, and why I didn't really hear anything about it. So for 2 years, I was out of the United States exploring Eastern Europe with no technology, no access to technology, no like real way to know much about the outside world. So I was really out of the loop when big games were announced. And when I came back home, I kept hearing about this big new indie game known as Undertale. At first I was a bit curious, but I really didn't have much interest because I had way too many other games I wanted to get done. Naturally, I kept running into fans who just swore by this game, and they would just say really huge claims to back this game up. The biggest claim I heard was I was talking to a guy at my work, and he told me that Undertale was better than Ocarina of Time. Now, I mean, first of all, that is a bold claim because Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time. So that is a really huge statement to make. And second, you better clean your mouth, you filthy uncultured swine! How dare you make fun of Ocarina of Time like that! Sorry. Anyways, that claim had me more interested because he just insulted my favorite game, and I need to defend the honor of my favorite game. So, here we go with the actual review. My thoughts on Undertale. The story of Undertale starts off before you even press the start button. It explains that humans and monsters used to live in peace, but after a war broke out, the humans managed to drive the monsters into the underground, where the monsters live forgotten by humanity. You, the player, are a genderless child. It doesn't really say if you're a guy or a girl, so it's just we're just gonna say it's a genderless child, who falls into the underground and has to find a way back home. On your way, first room you enter, you meet a talking flower who tells you that in this world it is kill or be killed, and tries to kill you. Wow, what a dirtbag. Thankfully, you get saved by a motherly goat, and then the game starts, with you trying to get home. The story, honestly, is pretty basic, just get from point A to point B, but I think what really makes the story shine is how it's more about the journey between these 2 points, which Undertale does very well. What is also interesting is your choice for what you do while you're going home. Now, this game isn't an interactive choose-your-own-adventure, kind of like, those Telltale games, where each choice matters. Rather, it's a game that has 3 endings based on how you play. There's the neutral ending, which is the one I got, where you just play the game normally. The pacifist ending, which is by not killing any enemies and making friends. And finally, the genocide ending, which you get by murdering everyone. I really gotta get that checked out. Anyways, as you play the game, the things you do will affect everything, which is very interesting because it feels like your actions affect the world and gives you a different experience than just, an ending. While I haven't tried any of the other paths because I just only did the first neutral path, I have heard that each route has unique content that is only available in that path. Maybe a secret boss or an extra character or I don't know. Which, that's cool because it really warrants a second playthrough. And the journey to your ending, really depending on how you play, is full of interesting settings as well as memorable characters that make the world of the underground very, fleshed out and unique. Well, maybe except the characters of Sans and Papyrus. You can't really flesh out skeletons. I'm sorry, I'll see myself out. Actually, to Sans and Papyrus's credit, they are actually the most fleshed out characters in the whole game, but I won't get too deep into that. But every monster you meet actually has a personality. It really adds something to the world in which they live in, as well as to your journey. They got so much character, whether they're trying to kill you, capture you, make stupid puns, or host a game show where that game show tries to kill you. Each character you meet is super unique and always leaves you with a good impression. Except Flowey. Screw Flowey. Flowey sucks. Seriously, he's just a flower who just oh, first thing he sees, I must kill it. Like, I mean, come on. What kind of dirtbag does that to people? It's so dumb. Like, oh, I'm going to meet this person. First thing I'm going to think of is stabbing them. I'm so funny because I'm a flower who just lives in the underground because I am just a huge... The graphics in Undertale, if you really can't tell, they look like a game that would run on the Super Nintendo, which, I mean, isn't a bad thing. But I will admit that there isn't too much to talk about with, like, the overworld graphics, because, like, you know, it's there. It's, you know, it's kind of, it's overworld graphics. Like, what more do you want? However, the graphics and the animation on battle screen is just, oh, it's so good. Like, it's, I mean, you might be looking at this and you might be thinking that they're just kind of bobbing back and forth, but I found that the movement on the monsters during the battle is very simple, but like kind of adds more of a personality to them when you're fighting against them and makes it seem, I guess, like you could say lifelike in a sense. Most RPGs, monsters are just kind of like a static image. Like they just sit there and maybe like blink when they attack. And to me, sometimes it's really boring. Like, I mean, granted, those games are old, but anyway, I just feel like the monsters having like a movement has more like weight to it. Like, it's not just another thing standing in your way. It's a person. Like, it has meaning. For example, just look at this boss. Look at her. Her arms are swinging back and forth and her eyes are just blinking at different times. It makes it feel more like it's something instead of just an annoying inconvenience like in most RPGs. Also, can I just gush about the music right now? Oh my gosh, the music in this game is so good! Toby Fox just knows how to make music because most of these songs just adds to the world of Undertale. My favorite, and I would guess most others, is the boss music. Holy cow, do these songs kick trash! Each boss has its own theme, which just kind of sums up their character, as well as makes their battles just have that much more, like, impact to it. It's very memorable and fun. So much impact on me. And I have not hum or sung along to a song ever since my Metal Gear Rising sing-along adventure. I'm not really talented at music, so not, like, noticing the, like, use of the quarter notes and the half step and the treble clef. But I really appreciate good music, especially in video games, because I believe it just adds more to the immersion of the game. I mean, even if I hated the rest of the game, I think I can't deny the music of Undertale is just spectacular. Actually, fun fact, while I've been writing this review, I'm listening to Undertale boss music, just because it's that good. Now, one of the hardest things for me to like talk about with Undertale is the gameplay, because it's kind of hard to place what genre Undertale falls under. It plays like a mix between a turn-based RPG, kind of like Final Fantasy, and a bullet hell, kind of like, well, like all the bullet hells. There's no significant one to talk about. In a battle, you have typical options of your actions. You choose, attack, item, you can learn about the enemy, stuff like that. After your move, it's the enemy's turn to attack. And when that happens, the game turns to more of this mini-game where you're dodging their attacks. Now, each enemy type has its own attack pattern, something where they shoot, all your different things, you have to dodge all their obstacles. And this always caught me off guard because I never got used to one type of attack. I had to learn 10 different attacks for every new area I walked into. And honestly, I got really tired of trying to learn new strategies, new moments to dodge every time, and by the end of the game I just really was done with it. Granted, now that I think back on it, I do kind of suck at bullet hells, so that might kind of be the reason I'm thinking that way. But thankfully, there are moments that keep it interesting, such as adding blue attacks that hurt you if you're moving, or if for this fight you have to block enemy attacks, or you get stuck to a grid and your movement options are limited. I really liked these new moments because it really changed up the formula of just avoiding attacks like I mentioned before. Because as I mentioned, I was really getting tired of how the gameplay works. And these new mechanics make it very enjoyable to be dodging attacks because it's different each time. My favorite thing about the combat, however, goes back to what I mentioned before about the 3 endings. And one of the ways to get the pacifist ending is to not kill an enemy. You always have two options when it comes to combat, which is to kill them or to spare them. Killing is a bit easier. You know, you just line up this bar right into the middle area and then bam, you hit them. Whereas sparing, it takes a bit more figuring out because it's different for each type of monster. And while you're spending your turns not attacking, the monsters are attacking you and trying to kill you, which in hindsight kind of makes sense why it's called the pacifist run. And honestly speaking, I really enjoyed sparing monsters more than just trying to attack them. Because in most RPGs, monsters are just kind of in your way. You know, you run into a monster and just the first thing you do is just kill it with fire! Or you spend 5 minutes watching a summon to take care of them, which, ooh, it looks so pretty, this animation, oh my gosh. Whereas in Undertale, you kind of have to figure out, in a sense, what makes the enemies tick. And kind of adds a certain charm to each enemy you run into. I actually almost got the pacifist run because I was having more fun sparing monsters than trying to kill them, and honestly was very upset when my friend told me that there's a part where I can't spare a boss. It was very enjoyable and made the experience more like unique. I mean, there's so many different ways to spare these monsters. One of them is you laugh at a joke it tells you. Another one is you just kind of flirt with it, which I don't condone flirting with monsters. And like my all-time favorite is you get into a flexing competition with one of the monsters, and you flex so hard, he flies into space. Yeah, it was weird, but it really just impacted me and made Undertale feel more unique than your stereotypical RPG, which huge thumbs up for. So after all of this, after me sharing my thoughts on the story, the music, the gameplay, etc., you must be wondering why I started off this review by saying that this game is overhyped. Was I doing it for attention? Was I doing it for clickbait? No. Honestly, I do like Undertale a lot. I do feel, however, that it's not as good as everyone made it out to be. It was overhyped for me that by the time I got around to playing it, no matter what the game did, it just wasn't going to live up to the hype that everyone else told me, which honestly I felt kind of killed a lot of my enjoyment. However, I'm not saying that Undertale is a bad game because it's far from it. It's just really not as amazing as everybody said about it. Now please don't get mad at me for this, this is just my opinion. But with that in mind, I give Undertale a score of 8 out of 10, but with a recommendation that you should totally buy this game at the full price. And between you and me, it's only $10, so that's totally worth it. Undertale is an amazing game that I would recommend to anybody. It's just not as perfect as everyone says it is. So, long story short, Ocarina of Time is still #1 in my heart. And if you disagree with my opinion, I will come and find you, and I will go full genocide on you. Yeah, I really do need to get that checked out. That's 3 in one video. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming and watching my review of Undertale. If you did like what you see and you enjoy my voice or my randomly talking about video games, please check out my other videos on my channel. I have a Let's Play of Legend of Korra, where a friend and I go through and just talk about it and other anime. Or if that doesn't float your boat, we also are working on Chroma Squads. Again, thank you so much. Ciao, ciao.